There we go. What up, everybody? Here we go.
Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Happy Sabbath to those who are Sabbath keepers. Hello, happy Friday to those who um
Just keepers.
keepers.
And happy summer to those that are having summer-like weather right now.
Yes, it's definitely summer here
I
in
tortilla
Texas.
chips on me.
Yeah, you do.
Mhm.
I got you though. I got you. Yes, it's very hot, but I think that's what I love about summer. That's what I enjoy about summer, the heat. Bring on the heat. I mean, yeah, I complain about it a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like it's still what's to be expected, right? During the season of summer. So super excited about that. Hope all is well on that side of whoever is watching. I mean, yeah, whoever is watching. I hope that you all are well, and I hope that you guys had a great week. This week has been a week for the Calisar family. So we're just happy that we were able to show up in the space. We definitely could have been doing
Sleeping.
restful things.
Right.
But here we are in the name of being consistent, just here in the space as promised.
Yeah. And if you're here with us, doesn't seem like we got a lot tonight, but we'll rock with it. We know folks come on
Absolutely.
later, but if you want to say something in the comments, if you want to shout us out, we can shout you out too. But we are glad for the 4 people that are tuning in right now. And we're on Instagram as well. So if you follow us on our IG page, we are finally able to stream on Instagram.
Woohoo! That's exciting.
Yep.
That's exciting. So our Instagram family can also feel like they're a part of the experience that we have here on Facebook and YouTube.
That's right.
This has been a really good time for us to be able to show up in this space. It really has. And I'm really appreciative that we're able to be here talking, chatting up all the things like we usually do on a Friday night. So yeah.
How
are
you doing?
you?
I'm doing good.
Look at that. We were on the
so
same
cute.
on the same wavelength. I am tired.
Yo.
But I am here in this space. I feel that, I feel like we are forever tired, some more than others, but I feel like the more I say that I'm tired is the more tired I feel. So I want to manifest positive energy, happy energy, like energy that's like not tired. So I'm going to say I'm good. I'm good.
I want
As
to
good as I could
channel.
be.
I want to channel tired energy. I am tired.
No, don't do it.
I want to chill. I want to relax. I want to sit on my couch. I want to look at my television. I
Don't
want to
do
do
it.
all of that.
After we would have said goodnight to everyone on this live.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yo, Rodney Grissom, what's going on, Doc?
Hey, Rodney. Always so glad to see you in this space.
He hasn't jumped on Instagram fully yet, and he needs to get with it.
Yeah, get with it.
Yeah, I mean, man, honestly, man, it will suck you in. Instagram will suck you in. It's particularly to with those reels.
Jamie's confessing,
you
y'all.
will just keep scrolling. Do I have a witness in the chats right now? A witness who is watching the show that knows about the scrolling.
That scroll is real.
Yeah, but thank you, Rodney. He says we are both colorful this evening.
You know what?
And that
wasn't even a planned.
No, we haven't. And we're almost like doing opposite colors. You got the green hat, I got the green shirt.
Okay.
See
the
that?
Only thing I don't have orange on your hat.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There's orange. But
Othniel, what's going on, fam?
What's up, Othniel? Good to have you in this space as well.
Shout out to the consistency with Othniel and Rodney.
It's true.
Always
we truly appreciate that for real. Like we legit, I love it.
Yeah. So what was your week like?
My week was a whole lot of running around. So I'm sorry. I'm doing something that I'm supposed to be focused here. Okay. Right. I'm sorry, y'all. Here I am.
Need you here.
I'm showing up. So I'm supposed to be taking a trip, an international trip, without my family, this week, coming week. And so I've been like ripping and running, trying to get things together, trying to get things settled for me. And it feels as though the more I feel like I got it, I have everything like lined up, is the more I feel like I don't have everything. So it's just weird. It's weird.
Later on in the and maybe in another episode, we can talk about how many of you married folk and even unmarried folk let have your spouse takes vacations on their own, goes away by themselves.
Mhm.
And I would love to know, like, even to see, like, do more women do that, or do more men do that, or how many couples actually do that, where the
Yeah.
spouse just says, yo, I'm going away for a week,
Mhm.
not to another state, for like a whole nother country.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to know what the numbers are regarding that,
Well,
and how do you feel about that as well.
yeah. So we can talk about that a little bit. We could talk about it a little bit as we transition into our topic. Yeah. So what's your take? Seeing that I'm the one that's taking this trip, actually, I feel like you do a lot of domestic flying, domestic trips, and I do more international trips without you.
Right. Well, my domestic trips are mostly, you would say, preaching, right?
Yeah, work related. Yeah, that's true.
I think the Nas concert was probably one of the far and wide
Hmm.
trips that I took that was just leisure.
I agree.
Yeah. So Othniel says his wife does. What about you, Othniel? Do you take trips overseas or anywhere by yourself?
Yeah. So so the question while we're waiting for him to answer,
Mm-hmm.
I was telling you about, I was going to ask, like, what are your thoughts? Like, here's another trip that I'm going on. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's great. I think it's inspiring me to do one.
Mm,
Okay, Othniel says he does. That's
okay.
good. That's good.
Okay.
That's good. All right, man. I want to ask more questions to him. Like, who do you? Is it even? Is it shared evenly? Like, your wife does one and you do one, or is it just like whatever's cost effective and feels like the thing to do? But to continue on your question, I feel a little bit more inspired
Hmm.
to do one
Hmm.
solo.
Good. Good. And I hope you do. I hope you do. I think that it should be shared. I don't think, I mean, it depends. People don't like to travel. They like to stay home.
That's true.
But if you do like to travel, I think it should definitely be shared, because I feel as though if you were always the one traveling, I would be in my feelings. Like, why am I not traveling as well? So I think it is important for that to be shared if you both love traveling.
Okay. All right. I agree. Othniel says half and half.
Okay. See, that's
That's a
fair.
good
That's a
balance.
good balance. It has to be.
Yeah,
It has
that's a
to be,
good.
especially
Right.
if that's what you like to do.
Right. Because you don't want one spouse feeling some type of way.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I definitely I'm looking forward to that trip. Like, people are asking me, like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do on the plane? I'm like, sleep.
Like, what else is there to do? What was that thing you sent me about people who sleep on the plane?
I don't remember. Oh, they don't have a care in the world. It's like they are very, like, they don't care about anything.
I can't help it nowadays. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or maybe just running around more, but it's like as soon as I get in that plane seat and I get comfortable, I am knocked out.
Mhm.
I was trying to fight it today. I was really trying to fight it today.
But you
I couldn't.
couldn't.
I
And it's
couldn't.
okay. And it's okay. It is what it is. I definitely I'm going to sleep. I think that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Just sleeping.
Sleep and some headphones. I'm good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. That is what it is. So, all right. So we're gonna get into it, because we are not gonna be on here long. I don't think again, I have the bandwidth to be on here long.
Oh, yes. That's what I'm talking about.
What does that mean?
I'm just saying, I like when we do shorter
Oh, okay.
episodes. I think shorter episodes is
Helps you out.
well, I think it keeps us focused and we hit the points that we have to hit.
True, because we know that we have a tendency to kind of veer off real quick in 2.2 seconds. Okay, so tonight's topic, we're talking about marriage, and I know we haven't talked about marriage in a bit, but I think we basically talk about marriage when it's specific to something that we are currently going through or processing through as a couple. And so transitions has been, it seems, the theme of our season, right? I feel like we're just in transition. We've been in transition for some time, and it just feels as though like we're continuing to be in transition, whether it's individually and also collectively as a couple. Okay. And it's interesting because I thought that being 45, that not that I would go through that, not that transitions would cease, but almost that I would be a little bit more settled or more secure or more feeling like, okay, we're kind of like coasting as a couple, coasting in life, but it feels like it's not that. And so so we've been going through different transitions individually and collectively as a couple. And so we're just coming on to kind of talk through what it is that we have learned or that we are learning in a real practical way, how to still go through the transitions, have life being stressful, and being able to maintain the marriage in a healthy way.
I like what Rodney says. What is not growing and transitioning is decreasing or dying.
Yeah.
And I think as humans, we all go through different stages and shifts in our lives, particularly too at certain milestone ages.
Correct.
Right? Like, 30 and 35. All the fives are like milestones, right? 30, 35, 40, and 45.
Yeah.
Right. And so like
that's a good point. I didn't realize the fives. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought about that just now. But like now when you're married to somebody and you don't just go through these by yourself.
Right.
You go through this, with somebody.
Yes.
And that person has to go on the roller coaster with you.
Right.
Like up and down. And especially too, if you're not communicating and you're just going through it by yourself, it can be pretty bad.
Yeah, it can be disastrous if you don't check yourself, and if you don't have check-ins with your spouse to be able to be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, and acknowledging it for yourself, like, okay, something's off or something's not right. Okay, let's go ahead and see what's up. How can we fix this? How can we work through, even though you're working through things, how can we work through this together?
Right.
And so again, we're going to hit it and quit it. And so you want to go ahead and talk through the first point?
Oh, about going through transitions in marriage?
Yes.
In life?
Yes.
In marriage. So one of the things about So
the question is,
what happens to your marriage when it goes through different transitions?
Yeah. What happens to your marriage when it goes through different transitions? Okay. You asking me?
Yeah, you asked me to read the question. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask the question and then go ahead and say whatever.
No, I mean, what happens to you? I think I kind of said it before, is that it can be good and it can be bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think transitions are bad. I think transitions are good. I think that they can be healthy if you have the right tools to navigate through them.
The right tools, and also when I say right, meaning right, the right is specific to you and your marriage and your spouse. So when you have laid that foundation with your spouse, in the good times, usually those very same tools that you would have used, not necessarily practically in those moments, but you may talk through like, hey, when we're going through this is how I feel. This is how I want you to respond and all those things. Like those are when the tools are starting to be effectively used in those times, in those spaces.
Correct. And the attitude. I think attitude has a lot to do with how you handle the ebbs and flows, or how you handle the ups and downs. Because you can come in hot, like
Hot.
yeah, with like a bad attitude about it, and
Hot.
sometimes it might be justifiable if
Mercy.
all right, if you're
Sorry.
feeling that hot.
Yeah, I
It
was
could
feeling that
be,
hot. That
yeah,
thing.
because it could be justifiable if you are angry because spouse is not talking to you about what they're going through.
Right.
So I think the approach and the attitude is so important when dealing with various transitions, right?
Mhm.
I know we had like I think that, I don't know, you can agree or disagree, but I think like one of the major big transitions that we faced as a couple was moving from New York to Dallas.
Mhm.
Like that was a big transition for both of us.
Right.
And I think we handled it differently,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
we almost got, we were a little disconnected in
A little.
understanding.
You're putting it lightly.
Yeah, well, right. Well, a lotly,
A
a
lot.
lot, a
Just not a
lot,
lot.
uh, bigly,
What?
we were disconnected on
Uh-huh.
how we were handling it. And so, we finally started implementing some tools
Mhm.
to help us navigate through it, to get through it together, and to be at the place that we're at right now.
Yeah, and I think the difference, honestly, the difference is, I think the difference for you and I is that we remain friends, like
Mhm.
genuine friends.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but there are moments where I truly feel like Jamie is like my homeboy that I can sit and talk for hours and hours and hours. Yes, he's my husband, but then I still feel like he's my friend, right? And I think for us, that is what made the difference for me, especially because I was just like, yo, if I don't just see you as, I don't know, this 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 presence of just being a husband, right? I feel as though I see you more because we are friends. We see each other more because we are true friends, like truly friends.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I see that in you as well, that you're someone that I genuinely care about
Yes.
as a human being. So to
Mm,
see you going through, it makes me go through as
that's
well.
good.
Right. So,
That's
and I
real
think that's
good.
part of a marriage is like, how do you go through together and not
Yes.
leave one person transitioning by
That's
themselves?
right.
But even how do I adjust to what you're going through?
Mhm.
Right. Like, or can I just be like, you know what? You'll get over it
Right.
whenever you get over it. I got to
Mhm.
do what I got to do. We'll figure it out. And I see that as leaving your partner behind. Like that movie, what's
Yes.
that movie? Fireproof? When
Yes.
they say like you never leave your partner in a fire.
Mhm.
You always, so I always remember. I don't remember nothing else about the movie, but I
But
always
you
remember
remember
that
that.
part. And I thought that was really, really powerful statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think that um, those building blocks that we built prior to moving to Texas, prior to whatever transitions it is that we have faced in the past, and even the transitions that we're making now today are as a result. I think our success, and the majority of times we haven't always experienced success. We have failed a number of times. I know I have failed, and sometimes how I communicate to Jamie, and how I may sometimes weaponize my weaponize my feelings, right? My true feelings, as a weapon, almost like I'm using, it's like I hold maybe an unforgiving heart, or maybe you said something and it didn't sit well with me. And instead of kind of like using it as a weapon and, you know, throwing blame at you and turning it into something negative, I've learned that I can't do that to my friend.
That's right.
I can't do that to my friend.
Can't do that to your friend.
Yeah.
I want to read what Othniel says. He says, when I turned 50 in 2019, I noticed my tolerance level was getting short.
Mercy. Talk about the tolerance level.
Yo, that's real. I have low tolerance. I think you're beginning to see that more now.
Yes. Jamie's I don't know if I should testify in this moment. But I think that's a transition too, the aging transition, in seeing someone who usually has like the tolerance of, like he holds a lot. He holds a lot in regards to how much he can handle, how much he can, how much you can tolerate. How much you can tolerate. Like I always, I used to say like he
can bear.
I used to say like, man, I wish I had the patience. I wish I had the long sufferingness of Jamie, because my God, that man knows how to stay in that thing and hold on. And I'm just like, I can't. I don't have the tolerance. Like, please, like, deliver me. But now I'm observing that Jamie's tolerance level is it's not the same. It's not it is almost scary, because I'm just like, who is this person? I want to tell a story, and I think this story will help you understand Jamie's the change in Jamie's tolerance level. So is it okay if I share? You know exactly what I'm sharing. I'm about to share.
Your favorite story?
This is my favorite story.
One of?
Listen, I almost like completely lost myself, because I could not, two things. One, I could not believe that this was Jamie Calasar. Two, I could not believe that this was Jamie Calasar. And three, I was just like, yo, for real? Like, this is okay. All right, we here. And so one time, it was some time ago, Jamie and I were on a plane, and both of our pet peeves when flying is when the plane has landed, it's pulling up to the gate, the seatbelt sign has been turned off, and everyone is pretty much seated for the most part, waiting their turn to walk out the plane. Now, there are some people, as of late, it feels like it's a recent phenomenon, where they pop up and they try to walk towards the plane, or like walk towards, like they're walking out, right? The plane, the doors hasn't opened, nothing of the sort, right? And so for both Jamie and I, our tolerance level for that stuff is almost like, yo, for real? What's more worse is when the person stands up and they just walk. Like, yo, I'm waiting too. Unless you say, hey, I have a flight to catch, or I'm in a rush. I'll be like, I bet, go, do whatever, do you. But you're impatient, and you just want to stand up and just walk out, like walk towards the front of the plane. We're like, nah, right? It's so annoying. So this particular day, we landed, and I was sitting at the windows at the window seat. Jamie's in the middle, and there's a passenger in the aisle seat. So let me make this long story short. So there are two men who does exactly what I just described. And so Jamie's like, he's sitting on the edge of it. Like, he moves up and he's sitting on the edge of the seat. He's like, he's taking deep breaths. And he was like, if I was in that aisle seat, those two men would not be able to pass the seat. So I'm over here like, okay, all right, it's cool. Like you're not there, like you just in the middle seat, you just have to wait. So this dude, did the lady get up in the aisle seat?
She eventually
got up. So one of the men went, he was standing like a seat ahead of where we were sitting, right? The other gentleman, he didn't quite get there. He was kind of like almost by where we were sitting, but he wasn't quite there yet. Jamie Callisar got up. And when he got up, the man moved forward, like walked forward. So Jamie was like, wait.
I don't know.
You need to wait.
I don't
just like that, right?
Like that.
And the guy was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, right? And so I am over on that side of the seat, still sitting down, dying with laughter, because I was like, what is happening? Did you just tell the man to wait? And so a lady came off the plane and she was like, I'm so happy you did that because they have to stop doing that. But I was just like, who is this guy? Like, this is not Jamie Callisar. Usually he just kind of sit there and be like, whatever. No. But the fact that he stood up and told the man to wait.
Nah, there are certain things that make my skin boil. And like, nothing makes my skin boil more than seeing people at the back of the plane not waiting their turn to get off. If you want to get off early, then buy a seat at the front of the plane.
Mercy.
Don't push, especially when
and they push too.
Yeah, especially when I have my wife and kids with me, and you see like that stuff. Like that was probably the first time I yelled at somebody to tell them to wait. I didn't yell, but I just
you were just very firm in your thing. Like you about to wait.
But usually I do block them, and I'll be like, Carlene, go, Caitlin, Amber, and then like, because they'll try to take advantage. That stuff, if you are one of those people that try to skip, I really don't like you.
Jamie.
I don't, man. That thing.
You just told the people you really don't like them.
If you one of the people Jamie. In that moment, I really don't like you because Lord. I just think that it's a common courtesy to wait your turn, right?
Yeah.
You sit at the back of the plane. That's what comes with being at the back of the plane.
Right.
You sit in the front of the plane, you get off first. But don't push, man. Like that stuff drives me nuts. So I like sitting at the window. But the good thing is when I travel with y'all,
you're sitting at the
I'm sitting on the end seat,
aisle.
On the aisle. And I promise you, when that plane lands and somebody's I be blocking them. I be standing there and I will block them. They are not, unless you tell me you got another flight to catch or you like, I really got to go to the bathroom, then I'll go. But do not push. Do not try to get in front of my wife and my kids because you're going to hear me and I'm not playing. I don't care how big you are. I'm not playing that.
So
my tolerance level is real low for stuff like that.
So you can hear even the tone of his voice has changed. Can you imagine in that time that I just described? when my husband stood up and said that, I was like, who what? Like, he does not raise his voice like that at all. Not to say he was yelling, but he just made sure that he let the dude know, like, wait. I actually want to say it the way that I heard it.
You can say it however you want to say it.
How I heard it was, wait. That's how I heard it. It wasn't like that. Yo, you need to wait. Yo, can you just wait? That joint was like, wait. I was like, it's happening. Yeah, but anyway, going back to tolerance.
Yeah, my tolerance level for stuff
levels
is
and
low these
transitions
days.
And all the things that Rodney was talking about, it definitely changes. And so even seeing the shift in him, as I'm sure there are lots of shift that he sees happening in me, it's not for me to, in those moments, to kind of be like, oh my gosh, my husband's changing. Oh my gosh, he's no longer the same. Or to see it negatively is just, like, yo, at a certain point in your life, you just like, I feel like in your 20s, 30s, you're kind of, you kind of, depending on your personality, you just kind of just chill, whatever. But I don't know, it's just something when you are a little bit over, when you're 40, a little bit over 40, 50, I can't imagine what 60 is like. You just really do not have time for any mess. Like you're about it.
Yeah. And and even like, I think we're about to hit, we're 5 years away from 50.
Yes.
And I think right now in this stage, I think one of the transitions that I'm beginning to discover is our children, our daughters. And particularly Caitlin, she's about to enter that brain dead phase, that 13 through 15, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
And, it's a beautiful time for me too, because I'm seeing like her transition, how she's almost not like, she's not a little girl anymore. Like her interests, her way she speaks, and like, even physically, how her body is changing, and just like bracing myself for that transition.
Mercy,
I think as
Jesus.
a dad, right? Like as a dad,
I think as
I'm
a
like,
mom too.
Yeah.
I think dads feel it, but we feeling it too.
Right. Yeah. This
feeling it.
ain't my little munchkin anymore, right? Like she's becoming a young lady. And how do I still honor her in her growth, in her transition?
Yeah.
And to also remember, like, even though she's still my daughter, she's a lady. Like she's gonna be a young lady. So there's so many transitions. There's so many transitions. And even in the transition of our children, as they're going through their bodies, everything is going through different transitions. It's like, how do we as parents, right, show up, remain, even though we're going through our own transitions and we're kind of going through our own stuff? Like, how in the world do we try to, in a healthy way, maintain all of those things? And some days I'm not going front, I'm going to keep it a buck. Like some days I feel like I am failing at this thing called life, because it almost feels like it's overwhelming. There are just so many different things coming, right? There's so many things, different things coming at me. And so sometimes I feel like it's almost like, how much do I give to this? How much do I give to should I, okay, if I pay attention to this thing, that I might be missing out on this thing, right? It's just so many different things happening at the same time. And man, Inside Out 2. That's all I gotta say. Inside Out 2.
Yeah.
That is a movie for adults.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's interesting that the little girl's a teenager in the movie, but just like you were saying, right? Like managing all these different thoughts and these transitions in life, and like just seeing her transition, even Amber too, right? Transition, and us as a unit, married couple, being steady and firm and dealing with our transitions, because we got to brace ourselves for their transition.
Yeah.
Oh man. So it's a lot. It's you got to have that foundation.
Yes.
You got to have those tools as a couple, and you got to have the right attitude. And it is work, because we're always in a stage of transition.
Always. So one of the things that, so this is a question that we had, that we have, and is, how do we stay connected when our minds are preoccupied by our own stresses? Right? I'm going to repeat it again. How do we stay connected when our minds are preoccupied by our own stresses? Okay. So one of the things that Jamie and I have done to stay connected when our minds are preoccupied by our own stresses is check in. How are you? Usually, Jamie's response will be, I'm good.
Yeah.
Or he'll say, I'm tired. or he'll say, there's so many things, but for the most part, I'm good.
Mhm.
So as his spouse, I've been married to him for 16 years, I can say, oh, he's good, or I can say when he says I'm tired, okay. And I could say that when he says that, life is whatever, but we're just gonna keep going. I can just leave it at that. But I know him, right? We have a relationship. And so I know him, and I know that his trigger words are, I'm good. Well, it's more my trigger words, because my antennas usually are like, doo, 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 something's not right. When he says I'm tired and he says just I'm good, I know, okay, what's really going on, right? And so sometimes it takes longer for me to be able to get to the root of what it is that's happening with him. And that's work. That requires for me to be able to have the patience to sit there and be like, yo, why don't you just tell me what it is that you're feeling? Like, why do I have to just kind of like dig? But I understand in the dynamic of our marriage that it's beneficial for me to sit there in the space and dig and dig until he feels whatever it is that he feels, or whatever his mind goes through, that he's like, I bet this is what's really happening. And we can kind of talk through that. So that has been super helpful. Anything you want to share or
No, you're absolutely right. I think for me, it's just sometimes when that question is asked, I don't know how to answer it. So I'm good is a trained response.
Yeah, it is.
Or I'm all right. I'm gonna be all right is a trained response. I just don't know how to take all those thoughts that are in my brain and turn it into a statement that you can understand. So I'm good is just my way of, maybe it's probably like even like a lazy way of just saying, I don't want to process through all this stuff I'm going through or talk about it. I just want to just move on. Yeah. And I think because I have a brain that's like, I think my brain just tries to work out my problems by itself. So,
now that's a whole nother episode. How do you communicate with a partner who problem solves in his brain? How do you communicate with someone who is just like, I've already solved the problem, even though it's very evident to me that the problem is still being solved, or it's still in transition. It's not come to this resolve. It's it's still something that's living and breathing, because I can feel his energy is off. Like, how do you do that? How do you do that?
I don't know. I
Prayer.
think prayer. I think you would be a great person to answer that, because that's just how I am. And I think it's just how I'm wired.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of patience.
Yeah.
Lots of patience and lots of reframing.
Right. Right. And and I think I know we always talk about our upbringing or our homes. You grew up, you and your siblings are pretty close in age, and y'all pretty much, I believe, grew up together. So it's almost like, y'all had conversation, and sometimes y'all wanted to talk, and sometimes y'all were forced to talk to each other because y'all were in the same space. I think the gap that I have between my siblings and me was pretty much, I've been kind of like by myself,
right?
Almost like an only child. So it's like, we weren't on the same level intellectually wise, right? Like, we're different levels, and they moved out because they were older, and I'm still at home. And so it's kind of like me by myself. So I feel like I was forced into just processing things, because there's other things too that you're going through. You don't really want to talk to your mom or your parents about,
right? So
you just kind of like, you're just trained to just process like that and operate like that, because you've never really had to answer or have anybody to help you get through stuff.
Yes. And then you get married,
right?
And then you have to share the space with someone who wants to know, who feels that all is not well, and wants to help you break down whatever is happening in your mind.
And I would say I thank God that I'm married to you, because imagine if I was married to somebody who was like me.
No,
we wouldn't talk.
No, not at all. I don't even think we would be on here.
Yeah. That's interesting.
all.
I would love to know if are you married, just to the audience, doesn't have to answer now, maybe later, but are you married to somebody who has a similar personality to yours?
That is interesting. I don't think I know anyone who's married whose personalities are the same. Maybe one.
Or
in a
even
sense.
or
Well,
even
no.
dating or even dating somebody and you have similar personality, like you're both extroverts, you're both expressive, or you're both extreme introverts and very little communication.
Hey, Yen. Yen says the challenge is when one spouse is an external processor and the other an internal processor. That is the truth.
I think we're like that, right?
That is Jamie and I.
Yeah.
I think I'm internal too. I think I go through.
Yeah, you go through.
I'd be like, I'm in my head, and then the next minute, I'm not in my head.
Right. Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Gamal says he and his wife are twins.
Please tell us more. How does that work for you all, for you both? I'm like really curious to know, like, how does that work?
I mean, they probably have. Well, I'd love to know what kind of twins they are. Because if they're both expressive, they probably have some really, really good conversations.
Yeah.
Some all-night conversations.
Gamal says it's crazy. I don't know why the comments are not showing up here anymore, but he said it's crazy. We both enjoy the company of no one. And he said it can cause problems. I could see that. Because you're like, wait, you're thinking like me. No.
Right.
I want you to, I want a different perspective.
Right.
So that's very unique, that dynamic. And I'm just grateful that it's working out. It's working for you both. I don't think I can comfortably be married with someone who is like me, because I legit would probably go out of my mind.
Yeah. I wouldn't. If I was married to somebody like me, we would never talk. We'd only talk unless we had to.
No, we will be talking all night. All night long.
If you were married to somebody like me?
No, if I was married to someone like me.
Oh, yeah.
I would be talking.
Yeah,
we would be talking from sun up to sundown.
Yappa. You'd be flapping them gums.
Be careful now.
All right, that's
all right. Akila says, I know I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yes. That is a very interesting thing, to be married to someone you have similar personalities. I do believe that for Jamie and I, that he is definitely the yin to my yang. Like, when I feel as though I don't know, if I feel as though like I'm doing the most, like he comes in and he's like, all right, you're doing the most. Let's go ahead and look at this perspective, or let's reframe your thoughts about this, and vice versa. I think that's what I enjoy most about marriage, that yin and yang kind of, where we complement each other in more ways than none. Because again, married to myself, I'd be in trouble. Okay, so how do we stay connected when our minds are preoccupied by our stresses? We also create a safe space, and we create a space for intimacy and affection. Creating a safe space and creating a space for intimacy and connection. Now, intimacy looks different for everyone.
That's true.
Right? And I know for me, especially in times of transitions or conflict, it's hard for me to get my mind into being intimate when what I know that I am unwell mentally. Right? And so I think you knowing that about me, where probably at the beginning of our marriage, it would be something that you're kind of offended by, where it's like, yo, I don't get no love. You know what I mean? Like you feel like it's you. It feels like it's you, not me kind of situation. But one of the things that we are learning through, we're not quite there yet. But one of the things that especially Jamie's learning about me is that if I'm not well or stable mentally, then intimacy looks different. Intimacy for me begins with the conversation of me feeling safe to express what it is I want to express, that I truly want to express, and him being able to have for allowing my words to land in a soft space. And I think that for me is the sexiest thing ever, like being able to be heard and to be seen.
Yeah.
That's sexy to me. I'm like, okay, you hear me? All right.
Yeah. And that was something that had to be learned.
Yes.
Yeah. And, transitioning, right? Transitioning internally to just be like, yo, you got this.
That right there for me.
Yeah. Or I think more so, not imposing on you how I would process things. Like, I guess, like, not thinking like the way, like, I'll be like, man, that's all you mad about? Like, get over it, right?
Yeah.
Like, because that's how I would do it. And to learn, no, you're a different person. This is how you do it. This is what you need in this moment. So it's like that I think intimacy is about meeting each other's needs.
Hallelujah.
That's what intimacy is, right?
Thank you, Jesus. And meeting each other's needs doesn't mean sexually.
Right.
It doesn't mean you touching me in the right spots. I mean, that there's time for that.
That's right.
But I feel
lots
like
of time for that.
There's lots of time for that. And we love that time. We enjoy that time.
Space for that.
Yes. Okay, Jamie.
I'm just saying.
But I do feel that we have to be able, I know not we have to, Jamie and I are, I think the intimacy for us starts in the conversation, the conversations prior to the other side of the other connection to being intimate and connecting on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And that's as my boy Edson says, it's a process.
Yes.
It takes time. And it takes patience, because I think like that's another thing too, like in relationships, and when one spouse is transitioning, and just how we are wired as a society, like we want results immediately.
Yeah, man.
Like we want outcomes immediately. Like we want get better immediately, do this immediately, get over it immediately.
Yeah.
And it's not like that with humans, right? Humans are different, and it is a process. It is patience. It requires a lot of love, and it requires a lot of care and compassion, and time to just step back.
Yes.
And to just be like, creating space.
Step back. So you create a safe. So the first thing we said was you have to
be intentional about meeting each other's needs, talking it out, creating a safe space.
Yes. And then leaving space for intimacy and connection. There's just so many different things, but these are the things that are that are literally working for us and allowing us to maintain a healthy marriage, not a perfect marriage, but a healthy marriage, a marriage that reflects love, a marriage that reflects forgiveness. Right? Because even though sometimes in those transitions, we may become irritable with each other. You may become frustrated with each other.
I'm just saying.
Your sound a little too loud there. So I'm trying to, in those moments when the frustrations and all those things are happening, learn. And for me, sometimes I know that my mouth my words, let me just say that my words sometimes leave my mouth without me truly like processing through what it is that um what I'm really or truly feeling. So sometimes I may say something or do something that I know that isn't kind, or I know that isn't helpful in the situation. And so learning to stop, take stock, like literally sit there, and it's like turmoil where I'm just like, well, I don't care because this is how I feel. I feel like if we just right. But also recognizing that I don't want to stay in tension. I don't want to live in tension for long. I hate living in tension. And so I don't want to live in the tension for so long. So guess what I have to do? I have to release him, release myself.
Free me.
And then, learn to forgive in those moments. Yeah. So what do you think about the forgiveness piece?
I mean, it should be a natural thing if you call yourself a Christian, right? To offer grace and forgiveness and understanding and patience. But I also believe that with forgiveness comes accountability.
That's good.
Right. And it also comes with,
it's good.
Yeah, like repentance too, right? Like, I'm whoever was in the wrong or whatever situation was, like, no, I'm going to try my best not to make this happen again. Right. Because you don't want your forgiveness to be taken for granted.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be in a position where you're always apologizing, or you're always having to forgive somebody, to forgive your spouse or that person you're in a relationship with. So I think those are all necessary things and observations and things, that you pay attention to. But I think forgiveness is important in a relationship. Grace and compassion. And I think always just remembering the why.
Yes.
Always remembering the why. Why did we decide to get together? And I think sometimes we lose our why in the midst of all the transitions and all the things that's happening, and the why gets pushed to the side, and it's more about like, what the hell, right? Like, or well, that starts taking over. And I think it's always important to go back to your why. Like, why did we in the first place decide to do this? And if you can't answer that question, then maybe it's a sign that it probably wasn't the right thing to do. Right. But we are no marriage therapists or marriage counselors. We're not. We're just ruminating off the top of our head. But I know for our relationship, I think I always go back to our why. I always go back to remembering the day I proposed, the day I asked you to be my girlfriend. And just, I think for me, what keeps me going is just remembering the good moments, the special moments that we had, like our first child, right? Our first apartment, our wedding day, things like that. Like those moments that can never be mimicked again with anybody else or in any situation. And I think those are what keeps it going.
That's good. You over here have me cheesing. I'm a little giddy. I feel a little giddy.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
I appreciate that and all that you said, because I truly believe that is the essence of marriage. Going back to your why. And I think even for those of you who are contemplating marriage, you got to have that why. You have to, you have to have a surety as much as possible. Cause honestly, Jamie, I was sure, but there were parts of me like, maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like absolute surety. It was almost like, I believe that this is where God is leading me to, or what the Lord is leading us to. Right. And the rest was faith. And the rest was us meeting each other where it is that we meeting us where we were. And he allowed us to grow the way that we've been growing. But I think it's important to kind of reflect, as you reflected, to think about, those couples or those individuals who are wanting to be married, that just being sure of your why, because that is something that you return to often, especially in moments where the transitions don't feel good. They feel awful. And you feel almost as though like, man, God, like what's happening? But I definitely feel that the connection, the constant connection between the two, definitely prepares you for those moments or in those transitions when things are not as flowery or as pretty and all those things.
Yeah, I've seen my boy
artists
in the comments. In a relationship, you have to decide: do I want to be right or do I want to be happy and at peace?
Yes, and
yeah. It's not always about having your way. You're in a relationship. You got to relate, right? You can't be cupcaking pastor. I receive it.
That's true. He's my cupcake.
Marriage is made up of two really good forgivers. I like that.
Okay, Akila. I want to talk for a little bit about using this platform to empower and also to shout out when people that we know are doing amazing things. So Akila is actually an author, among other things.
Word.
She's an author.
Word.
So she has a book that's coming out, I believe, July 28th. And she's having a entire, like a women's kind of soiree of sorts.
Akila.
And so just want to shout her out.
Put that link in the chat.
Also, the book is also just wanting to support or show support for her. The book sounds like it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to get my copy of it. But I know it's definitely something that she has to share. And I know that women across the world, I'm casting it out there, girl. Women around the world are going to be impacted by what God has given to you. So I hope that she will. That's right. Permission granted. That is her book. And so, yeah, check her out on Instagram for her lives and even some more dates or whatever it is that she has going on. But yeah, just want to shout you out, girl, and thank you for coming on tonight.
Yeah, post whatever you want to post, and anybody else who do check us out and you got something going on, please don't hesitate to post it in the chats and the comments. Let people know what you got going on, or send it to us. We'll be glad to do a little spotlight commercial or whatever it is, because I believe in supporting each other.
Absolutely.
And who else gonna do it? So it's got to be us. So of course, Akila, we celebrate you and everybody else that's doing amazing things. Okay, there it is. The Eventbrite is there. So click on it, register, show up, show out, and support our homie Akila doing big things.
Yes. Yo, we are doing really good. Can I tell y'all why? We hit an hour yet?
We hit an hour.
We hit an hour. They're about to peace out.
That's right.
But yeah, this has been a really good conversation. I just pray for healthier marriages where you truly remain connected in spite of the different transitions that life is throwing at each of us all. And also know that you're not alone, right? You are not alone as you are experiencing transitions in life, and your marriage may or may not be affected. You are not alone. Like that thing is real.
Yeah.
And there's just so much more that we could share. But for this moment and this time, that's all we're going to share in this time. But we just pray that your marriage remains healthy, We pray that you would take the tools that we have shared. You can do whatever it is you want with it, but we do hope that you have been inspired and see that marriage is something that is working and does work. It requires work, but we truly are so excited and so glad to be able to share with you guys this evening.
Yeah. And I just feel impressed, just to say, Lord, I just pray for every marriage that is in this conversation tonight, every relationship, that your spirit will hover over them. I pray that the enemy will not get between them, and even if the enemy has gotten there, that you would remove the enemy from their relationship. I pray for blessings. I pray for happiness, intimacy. I pray for forgiveness, and for strength to continue to fight on and press on. And so, we believe in marriage, and we know you believe in marriage too, Jesus. Amen, amen, and amen. So,
okay,
we're praying on here.
We better pray for these marriages, because God knows these marriages.
For real. Well, this is Jamie.
This is Carly. We love you guys.
Peace.
3, 2, 1.